it's time to make this pretty. We're using plaster instead of the mounting stone. And this is the white part that is gonna go on the periphery. With this one, you're gonna kind of eyeball it, where you get a creamy consistency. As you see, I'm dropping the water, just in very slow quantities. You can even do this on the in your seat with the syringe, okay, until you get a creamy and nice consistency. You also want to have, once you have the consistency of the plaster, you don't want it too runny. You want it just like that. If you get it too runny, just throw it away and do another one. Okay? This is cheap, guys. It's okay. Now you want this very nice and wet. Okay? So the plaster will not absorb that. And then as I'm doing this, look, I'm just gonna fill up the gap, making sure that my model's still nice and clean. Okay? For now, the only purpose is to fill up the gap. As the plaster starts setting, then it will be easier for you guys to make it nice and shiny. Okay? If you see, I'm just trying to fill up the gap. As the plaster gets set, it's gonna be more. It's not gonna be as runny, and you will be able to form or make it nice and smooth. As for now, I'm gonna have it like this. I'm gonna leave it I'm gonna leave it there just for maybe a minute or two, or as if I'm working on it. I'm a little bit faster than y'all, so maybe for me, I don't have to wait. I mean, I have to wait a little bit, but for you guys, very much likely, at this point, you will be still working with this, okay? So what I like to do is I like to get some water somewhere. And you don't have to do this on the wet lab. You can do it in your side. As the plaster starts setting, and with a little bit of water, I can just start smoothing things up, you see? You can also, at some point, whenever it gets a little bit more, whenever it sets a little bit more, you can even put it on the running water, so you start cleaning it. You see how I'm cleaning it? Okay. ¿Sí o no, Edwin? Come on, Edwin.
What?
Say sí.
Sí.
Like this. And you will, the main objective of this project is for you guys to start learning all these phases of the plaster, and when can you start working with this? You see? Right now, it's still a little soft, but it's got some consistency. At this point, you can always also get, remember, you have this on your kit. It's a sandpaper, right? As the plaster gets harder and harder, you might want to use the plaster. Now, if it's not hard enough and you start using the plaster, you're just gonna grind it out, the whole thing. So you got to be careful with this also. Always do it under running water. And if you let it set, sometimes it's even easier. I'm gonna do one side like this, and I'm gonna let the other side, and I will do it when it sets. What I want to have is a nice definition between the mounting plate, the plaster, and my model, or the cast. You see? Right there. So I'm going there, and then I'm going to the front. Be careful when you're sanding. You don't want to sand the teeth because you're gonna grind them away. So be careful when you're grinding or when you're sanding that you don't touch the teeth. Okay? Be very careful. You can do this at home. If the plaster already set, it's gonna take a little bit longer, but you can do this at home also as homework. And this is what I'm looking for. Probably here I could get a little bit more out. I don't want so the main purpose here is that I don't want any plaster whatsoever in the teeth. Just like this needs to be clean. This part here needs to be clean, okay? A very well definition between where the model or where the cast starts, where the plaster starts, are where the mounting plate starts. Every single one will have different, ways or different position of how the mounting plates are compared to this, but this is what we're looking for. So now it's the third for the lower. Again, we wet it very well, and then I just start incorporating the plaster all around it, okay? In this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let it set a little bit longer, and you'll see the difference. So do you see the consistency of the plaster? Look, it's runny, but it stays where pretty much where you put it. And if you just kind of like go into this movement or motion like this, it'll just start flowing anywhere you want. Don't overdo it, guys. If you overdo it, then the more plaster you put, the more you're gonna have to grind or sand out. So it's very important that you don't overdo it, so you don't have to wait or you don't have to work too much on this project. I'm just gonna put enough to cover everything, and then I'm gonna let it sit. I'm just gonna clean out my mounting plate so I don't have to sand it when it sets, right? And I'm gonna let it sit like this, you see? So what I wanted to show you is the difference between if you leave the plaster to set a little bit more, a little bit longer, and then you start sanding it, and sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding, you will get much nice and smoother surface. Where if you don't let it set, you see you get some grainy surface that at the end you can always go and re-sand it whenever it's completely set. And you will get a nice and smooth surface as well. So this is what we're looking for, guys. In your exam, if you got this excess here, you see how everywhere I can see the mounting plate, and in here I went over. Try to sand it out because that's gonna take some points off, okay? So it's easy if you take a knife or something and just clear it out, okay? Make sure you got the whole periphery of the mounting plates nice and uncovered. Something very, very important, guys, is that the base of the mounting plates have to be completely free of any material or any residue. If you leave these small particles here of plaster here, those are also points off in between teeth. You can always get like a knife or like a blade or something and clean it out afterwards. Once you put it back, you see how nice and clean. You see the difference between the three materials: mounting plate, plaster, and the model. Over here, maybe we need to work a little bit more on the sanding, but this is what I'm looking for, okay? Also, the pin needs to be at 0, right there, okay? Sorry, right there. All right. Thank you, bro. Salud.